Hi, I'm Rachel, and welcome to Power Lunch with Tomo, where we interview thought leaders and influential business leaders in the industry. Our mission is to leverage our curiosity to kind of share you the inside secrets of these leaders. So today we are joined by James Kim, who was the previous head of finance at Tinder and now advises companies such as Tomo and others. So James, I'll let you kind of take it from here to introduce yourself.
Hi, I think you did a pretty good introduction yourself. I started off my career in public accounting, and then I left public accounting pretty early to work for tech startups. I kind of just worked my way up and climbed the ladder and gained skill sets. And like you said, I ended up last being the head of finance at Tinder. And now I work for myself doing investing and advising. And yeah, that's that.
Okay, awesome. So wanted to kind of take you back to your early 20s. I'm 26, so maybe a little bit before my time, so a little bit after graduation. Can you kind of talk about your smart money methods? I know that this is kind of maybe like a little bit of a trade secret of yours. So kind of both what inspired it and could you describe it a little bit?
I don't think it's too much of a secret per se, but it does require, doing a lot of reading, online research. Back in my 20s, I think there were a lot more kind of message board type websites where you could go on and like ask questions and learn. I started investing and trading stocks very, very early. That didn't really work out from an active trading perspective, which I could kind of share and give it advice on. But it did give me very valuable lessons on kind of what not to do, right? In terms of like taking risk with regards to the stock market. But I educated myself on kind of credit in general, why keeping a credit score is very important. And it's no secret to kind of being responsible, right? Just, you know, don't spend more than you make, right? You kind of start there, and then you could think about what steps you can take after that to ensure kind of, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, you can, reach what your financial goals are.
In terms of credit cards, kind of did you kind of, work the system in that way a little bit or
Yes. So back in the credit card heydays, there was a kind of group credit card addicts, let's call it, and not in terms of spending on the credit card, but signing or researching the credit cards with kind of the best rewards, cash back, lowest interest rates, and all that. And back in the day, when also savings interest rates were higher, there was actually opportunities to arbitrage, so I did participate in that back in the day. Actually, a few years ago, I remember I was cleaning out kind of my all my credit cards, and I swear I had a stack of credit cards about this thick, and I spent about an hour cutting them up into little pieces. So that I didn't want to just throw it away. Identity theft is actually as part of the credit as well. I don't think I've paid for travel and even though I have a family of four, I don't think I've paid for travel in a very, very long time. Thanks to all the kind of credit card points that I had accumulated from efficient spending patterns and also from all the sign up bonuses from the past. Yeah.
wow, that's interesting. In that pile, just curious, did you find kind of a favorite that you were like, wow, that was my go-to card?
I found a debit card, and I swear this is true. There was a bank back in the day where it kind of like it was one of those online only banks, and it had a what would be considered a high yield savings account, and the bank name was Redneck Bank. True story. It's a true story. The bank card, it was red and had like a donkey on it. If you Google it, I bet you could kind of find the history on that. But I don't think that bank lasted very long. But it was one of those banks that offered a really high interest rate to kind of convince people to put their savings there. And
Uh,
who knows how much they made by lending it out, or maybe some other bank bought them.
right.
But yeah, I don't think they're in existence anymore.
Yeah, that is funny. Probably a tough marketing job on that side.
Yeah.
Um, awesome. So I'd like to transition maybe to Tinder. So as I mentioned, you were kind of the head of finance at, or former head of finance at Tinder. Could you talk a little bit about what attracted you initially to Tinder, or the parent company, either one, and kind of what did you learn in your early days?
So it's my career path, I guess, is very relevant to kind of how I ended up there. Um, I think when most people think about tech companies, they think of Silicon Valley in San Francisco, and that's certainly the case where the overwhelming majority of companies are there because the venture money is there and also the talent pool is there. But in LA, there's actually a pretty good tech scene as well. And like I said earlier, I did start off my career in public accounting, but it was right around the time when Google went public, and it was kind of like the beginning of the golden era of tech. And I decided early on that these are the type of companies that I want to work for because they're generally much more exciting. They're high growth, a lot to problem solve for. And I thought that just based on my personality and my having a entrepreneurial kind of mind and spirit, I thought that working for these for tech companies was going to be my best bet. So
Mhm.
the first tech company I joined was a company called business.com. I went in there as a financial analyst and accountant. And then I worked my way up, and I learned, and I learned all my accounting skill sets and analytical skill sets, and moved into FP&A. And then from there, eventually ended up at Tinder, just based on my career path. It was I think I was probably chosen from a very small pool of a candidates.
That's awesome. And so I know that kind of, everyone has a perception of what a company is like on the outside, but once you get on the inside, you kind of get the inside scoop. So was there anything unexpected that you came across after being in the company? Maybe it doesn't have to be, Tinder specific. It could be more job role specific, but anything kind of that caught you by surprise that you didn't expect.
Um, you know, Tinder, because of the business that it's in, and it's in tech, and because when you Google it, kind of back in the early days, there was a lot of kind of drama um, that probably would make a lot of people, think that it's like this crazy tech company with, people running around and doing all the like bad things that the negative press kind of highlights with when it comes to like tech. Um, and obviously that was a concern of mine before I had joined. And obviously I met the CEO and I met Sean Rad and I talked to him, and I was actually very impressed by him. And that's one of the reasons why I joined the company. And once I came in, it was actually a very, very, quote unquote, boring company where everyone was just there, kind of there to do their job. We hired
Mhm.
only the most talented people, but most people there were just there to do a good job and create the best product. And it's really cheesy to that when tech companies or tech founders, say, oh, they're doing it to like change the world or whatever. I mean, this is like literally one of the companies that really did change the world and how people date. So so yeah.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, you have a really interesting background. It was great to kind of get a little bit of a peek into it. Kind of to round this out, could you give us maybe your best personal finance tip for anyone kind of tuning in?
My best personal finance tip is to be to be boring. Just be consistent and be consistently boring. Just max out your 401k. If you have extra money, then max out, if you can, max out your IRAs. And then when you have extra money, then start putting it into a monthly, savings brokerage account. Buy low cost ETFs. Don't trade stocks actively. Don't trade options. Don't go all in on Tesla. if you're going to do research on companies, then fine, like just pick the best companies, but don't put all your eggs in one basket, and just be consistent, because if you aren't, one day, you'll wake up and your account is up a lot and you'll be happy, but the next day you'll wake up and it could be down 90%. The biggest example I could give you is, I think there were a lot of people very riding high on the Chinese coffee company called Luckin Coffee. Turns out they were fraudulent in their revenues, and this is a stock that was on the Nasdaq. They had just raised another round of securities financing, and they ended up dropping by 90%. And all these Wall Street hedge funds were in it. So just be careful trading individual stocks. Be very boring when it comes to investing. And then obviously don't spend more than you make, and get the right credit card that's for you with the highest rewards. Don't carry a balance. Don't pay interest. Yeah, that would be my advice, especially for the youngins that I think these days people kind of want that instant gratification. But I'm telling you, the stories that you read of somebody striking it rich on stock options or trading stocks, or their company getting bought out, that is a very, very rare occurrence, and something that you shouldn't rely on.
Totally. Definitely. Great tip. And I guess it's a little cheesy, but I have to. Would you swipe right on Tomo credit?
I do swipe right on Tomo credit.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks so much for your time. And we really appreciate it. We will talk to you next time.
Yeah, my pleasure.